I, female, 28, have been engaged to my boyfriend, now fiancé, Thomas, male, 29, for about 8 months now, and we're planning our wedding for next spring. We're both really excited about it, and everything has been going great with the planning, but I've been dealing with this huge family issue that's honestly keeping me up at night. After a ton of thinking and basically zero sleep for the past few weeks, I've decided I don't want to invite my parents to the wedding. And yeah, I know how that sounds. Like, who doesn't invite their own parents to their wedding, right? But honestly, there's a lot of background here. So, growing up, it was always pretty obvious that my younger sister, Madison, female 25, was the favorite child. I don't mean like my parents occasionally gave her more attention or whatever. I mean, it was constant and obvious favoritism from my parents. Bob, male, 56, and Linda, female, 54, for basically my entire childhood. We weren't poor, but definitely middle class, lived in a suburban neighborhood. Dad worked at a manufacturing plant. Mom worked part-time at this little gift shop in town. I always just thought it was normal, like I was the oldest, so obviously I had to be more responsible and more independent, and Madison got more stuff because she was the baby of the family. That's what I told myself anyway. My Aunt Donna, my mom's sister, was actually the first person who started pointing it out to me when I was around 12. She'd say things like, "It's strange that Madison got to go to summer camp, but you had to stay home," or "Why did Madison get a new bike when yours is still too small for you?" Stuff like that. But the thing that really made it clear happened when I was 14. I had this really bad overbite that was causing me actual physical problems. Like, I had jaw pain constantly, headaches all the time, and I couldn't even eat certain foods properly. Our dentist told my parents I needed braces, and it wasn't just a cosmetic thing. The estimate was around $3,500, which I know isn't cheap, but it was for an actual medical issue. I remember being so excited when we left the dentist because I thought I was finally going to get help for the pain I'd been having for like years at that point. But when we got home, my parents sat me down and told me they just couldn't afford it right now because Dad had taken a pay cut to avoid being laid off, and Mom wasn't making much at the gift shop. So what did I do? I believed them and decided to handle it myself. I got a job at 15 working at the local grocery store, stocking shelves after school and on weekends. I saved every penny I made. I didn't go on school trips, didn't buy new clothes unless my old ones literally had holes, never went to the movies with friends, nothing. For 2 years, I saved up. When I finally had enough money at 17, I went to the orthodontist by myself. The receptionist gave me this weird look when I said I was paying myself. The orthodontist asked where my parents were, and I had to explain that they couldn't afford the braces, so I was handling it. He looked concerned, but went ahead with everything. I got my braces put on that day. I felt proud of myself, but also sad. The orthodontist told me to make sure my parents helped me remember the care instructions, and I just said I'd manage on my own. Then I walked home alone with my mouth hurting. And here's the part that still bothers me. 3 months. 3 months after I got my own braces, my parents surprised Madison, who was 14 at the time, with a brand new car for her upcoming 15th birthday. A $18,000 car that she couldn't even legally drive for another year. When I asked them how they could afford a car when they couldn't afford my braces, they said the car was necessary, but braces were cosmetic. Necessary. She couldn't even drive it yet. And my braces weren't cosmetic. I had actual pain and problems eating. Oh, and the orthodontist was actually the dad of a girl in my class, which made my appointments awkward. But he did give me a small discount, which was nice, I guess. This wasn't just a one-time thing either. Madison always got expensive clothes, the newest phone, fully funded extracurriculars, and eventually they paid for her to go to a private university. Meanwhile, I was told to be practical and responsible with money my entire life. I worked multiple jobs through college at a state school while Madison got a free ride. But you know what? I built a good life anyway. I'm a software engineer now. I met Thomas at a coding workshop 4 years ago, actually, and I'm completely financially independent from my parents. Our relationship has been strained but civil, I guess. We do the obligatory holiday visits, occasional phone calls, that sort of thing. But when Thomas and I got engaged and started planning the wedding, I realized I didn't want my parents there. The thought of them being at my wedding just brings back all these painful memories instead of making me happy. I told them my decision 3 weeks ago, and they are really angry. They've been calling everyone in our extended family, telling them I'm ungrateful for all they sacrificed for me over the years. What sacrifices? They literally made me pay for my own medically necessary braces while buying my sister a car she couldn't drive. Madison is kind of caught in the middle. She understands where I'm coming from. She's always known she was the favorite, even if she never said it out loud. But she also feels weird about attending if our parents aren't there. I don't know. Am I overreacting about something that happened years ago? I mean, I thought I was over it, but planning this wedding has brought up all these feelings again. I just want to be happy on my wedding day, and I honestly don't think I can be if they're there. Edit. Wow, I didn't expect so many responses. Thank you all for the support. To clarify a few things people are asking about. 1. Yes, Madison and I have a decent relationship now. We've talked about the favoritism a bit as adults, but not in great detail. She's never denied it happened. 2. Thomas is 100% supportive of whatever I decide. He's met my parents a handful of times and says he always noticed how differently they treat me versus Madison, even as adults. 3. A few people asked if there was a cultural reason for the favoritism. Nope, just standard American suburban family. No cultural traditions about oldest versus youngest or anything like that. 4. For those suggesting therapy, yes, I've thought about it. Thomas has been encouraging me to talk to someone professional about all this for a while. Now for the first update. So after reading all your comments, I decided to call my Aunt Donna last weekend. We ended up talking for like 3 hours about my childhood and everything that happened. She basically confirmed that I wasn't imagining things or exaggerating the favoritism, which I still sometimes wonder about, even though I know what happened. But she also told me something I never knew. Apparently, my parents had actually set aside $5,000 for my college fund when I was born. This was like 1994, so that was a decent amount back then. But when Madison turned 16, they used all of it to throw her this ridiculous Sweet 16 party where they flew in some D-list actor from this teen show she was obsessed with. I had no idea about this money. Meanwhile, I worked 30-hour weeks all through college while taking full course loads just to avoid massive student loans. I literally developed this horrible energy drink habit during those years that I'm still trying to break. Thomas actually teases me about my emergency caffeine stashes. I have like 3 different hiding spots in our apartment with Red Bulls and those 5-hour energy shots, lol. I mean, I know that's not the biggest deal compared to everything else, but it's just one more thing that stems from how they treated me, you know? After talking to Donna, I decided to email my parents. I tried to be really clear that my decision about the wedding isn't just about the braces incident, but about a whole lifetime of favoritism. I spent like 2 days writing this email, trying to be calm and factual, which is honestly not my strong suit when I'm upset about something. I listed a bunch of examples besides just the braces/car thing, like how they never missed a single one of Madison's soccer games, but only came to my debate team finals once in 4 years because they said debates were too cerebral and boring to watch. I won state championships twice, by the way. Not that they would know or care. Well, they responded yesterday with this long email. The subject line was literally, "We've always loved you equally," which already made me roll my eyes so hard. They basically said they were just tougher on me because they knew I was more capable and that Madison needed more support to succeed in life. They actually had the nerve to call me selfish for excluding them from an important life event and said I need therapy for my jealousy issues. They even attached a bunch of childhood photos of me smiling like that. Somehow proves they treated us equally. Like, what does that even prove, except that kids smile for cameras? They also mentioned they've already bought their wedding outfits, just assuming I'll come to my senses. And get this, they threatened to correct the record with Thomas about what kind of daughter I am. Thomas has literally seen how they treat me versus Madison since the day he met them. They finished by saying they'll forgive me when I apologize for this embarrassment. Not a single acknowledgement of how their actions affected me. If anything, their email just confirmed I made the right decision. Then today, Madison called me crying. She admitted she always knew she was the favorite, but said she never realized how much it impacted me. I mean, how could she not know? But I guess when you're a kid, you don't really question that stuff. She said our parents have been pressuring her to convince me to change my mind, and even suggested she should refuse to attend my wedding in solidarity with them. She told them absolutely not. But the worst part, she told me our parents are planning to just show up to the wedding regardless of whether they're invited. They literally told her they don't think I would make a scene on my wedding day, so I'll just have to let them stay. I'm still in shock about this. Who does that? That just proves they still don't respect me as a person with actual feelings. I had to have this whole conversation with Thomas and our wedding planner about possibly hiring security for our wedding. How sad is that? I have to hire people to keep my own parents out of my wedding. I love my parents and know they did their best, but I also can't forgive how they treated me. Is that weird? To love someone but also be so hurt by them at the same time. I feel like I'm going crazy sometimes with these conflicting feelings. Thomas's family has been so supportive through all this. His mom even offered to run interference if needed. I think they feel sorry for me though, which is kind of embarrassing. Who has family so toxic they need bouncers at their wedding? But maybe that's just me being insecure. Thomas says his mom just wants to help because she cares about me, not because she pities me. I don't know. I've been getting all these messages from cousins and other family members who've heard different versions of what's happening. Some think I'm being dramatic and overreacting. Thanks for the support, guys. Others completely get it and have noticed the favoritism for years. It's weird having your family stuff suddenly become this public thing everyone's discussing and taking sides on. I had this nightmare the other night where I showed up to my own wedding and the venue was empty except for Madison. She just looked at me and said, "They decided I deserved a wedding and you didn't." I woke up crying. I guess all this wedding planning is bringing up a lot of insecurities I thought I'd dealt with. I started seeing a therapist last week. Thomas has been suggesting it for a while. I know I probably should have started years ago, honestly. And with the wedding only 2 months away, I figured I should try to process some of this stuff. I still feel guilty sometimes, even though I know I'm justified in not wanting them there. The therapist says that's normal, but it doesn't make it any easier. She said something about how children are basically programmed to seek parental approval, even when parents are terrible, which makes sense, I guess. The wedding is now just 2 months away. Oh my freaking God, that's scary to type out. Most of the arrangements are finalized. We've got the venue, caterer, flowers, photographer, all that stuff sorted. But this whole family situation is hanging over what should be a happy time. I'm worried about what will happen if they actually do try to show up despite not being invited. Has anyone dealt with something like this before? Any advice on handling the day itself? I know most people have issues with their families, but I never thought I'd be the person hiring security to keep my parents out of my wedding. I always hoped that somehow by the time I got married, things would be different with them. But I guess some people just don't change. Edit. So many people are asking if Madison is still invited. Yes, absolutely. She's actually my maid of honor. Whatever issues I have with my parents aren't her fault, and we've actually gotten closer through all this. Edit 2. Thanks for all the security recommendations. We're definitely going to hire someone now. The venue coordinator actually said this happens more often than you'd think, which is both reassuring and depressing. Now for the second update. I didn't invite my parents to my wedding, and they tried to crash it anyway. Okay, so I know it's been a while since my last update, like 3 months, and I'm really sorry about that, but honestly, everything has been such a whirlwind lately. So much has happened, and I've been trying to process everything before posting again. So first things first, I'm married now. The wedding was 3 weeks ago, and despite all the drama leading up to it, which I'll get to in a sec, it was honestly the most beautiful day. Thomas and I are still kind of floating on that post-wedding high, even though we're back from our honeymoon and real life is starting again. Anyway, the weeks leading up to the wedding were intense. My parents started sending these really manipulative messages that would swing wildly between guilt-tripping me, "How could you do this to the people who raised you?" and these fake olive branches, "We just want to be part of your special day." The worst was when my dad claimed he had this health scare and kept saying stuff like, "This might be my last chance to see my daughter married." I was actually starting to feel really guilty until I called Aunt Donna, and she confirmed it was basically just high blood pressure that he's had for like 10 years. Like, way to use your health to manipulate me, Dad. Thanks for that. I stayed firm with my decision, though, thanks in part to all the support from you guys and my therapist. We went ahead and finalized everything with the security team and gave them photos of my parents. I felt ridiculous doing that, by the way. Like, what kind of person has to give security guards pictures of their parents to keep them out of their wedding? But after their threats to just show up anyway, I knew I had to take it seriously. So here's what actually happened on the wedding day. I didn't find out most of this until the next day because everyone kept it from me during the actual wedding, which I'm grateful for. My parents showed up about 45 minutes before the ceremony started. They were all dressed up, my mom in a fancy blue dress and my dad in a suit. The security team spotted them right away in the parking lot and stopped them before they got to the venue entrance. According to what Aunt Donna told me later, my dad tried to act all confused and kept insisting there must be some mistake, and even showed them a fake wedding invitation. Madison had warned me they might do this. Turns out they literally made a fake invitation. WQ does that. My mom started crying in the parking lot, loud enough that some guests who were arriving could hear her. The security guys kept trying to explain that they were just following the bride's wishes, but my dad threatened to call the police and claimed they had a right to see their daughter get married. No, that's not actually a right anyone has. Then my mom started trying to get the attention of guests who were walking in, trying to get people to support them. Luckily, Aunt Donna and her husband arrived right around then and saw what was happening. Donna pulled my parents aside, and there was a huge argument in the parking lot. Donna said my mom was yelling about how ungrateful I am, and people could definitely hear her. Eventually, Donna's husband convinced them to leave by telling them they were only hurting any chance of a future relationship with me by making a scene. The security team just quietly reported to our wedding coordinator that everything was handled, and I had no idea any of this happened until Donna told me the next day. The ceremony and reception went perfectly, and I knew nothing about the parking lot drama. Madison was amazing through the whole thing. She was my maid of honor, and apparently our parents had been pressuring her really hard to either create some kind of scene or refuse to participate in solidarity with them. She told them absolutely not, and that she wasn't going to punish me for their mistakes. I'm honestly so proud of how she's handled everything. Thomas's family has been so welcoming to me. His mom told me she's always wanted a daughter. That made me cry because, well, you guys know my whole history with my own parents. It just felt really nice to be so completely accepted. But here's where things get complicated. 3 days after the wedding, I got an email from my mom. I almost deleted it without reading. I was still angry about them trying to crash the wedding, but something made me open it. For the first time ever, she actually acknowledged the favoritism, like directly admitted it with no qualifications or, but we had good reasons BS. She said they had spent differently on me and Madison because Madison reminded them of themselves, while my independence and intelligence sometimes made them feel inadequate as parents. She included an apology and asked if we could meet in person to talk about rebuilding our relationship. I'm still processing this because, well, it's what I've wanted to hear for basically my entire life. But it only came after I stood firm on a decision that embarrassed them socially. So I'm conflicted about whether it's genuine or just damage control. Then, last week, Madison asked to meet for coffee. When we met up, she brought this small gift box that had a car key inside. She told me she was returning the new car our parents had just bought her for her graduate school graduation. I was so confused until she explained that she's been thinking a lot about how she's been complicit in the favoritism by just accepting things without question all these years. I tried to tell her that she shouldn't punish herself for our parents' actions. It wasn't her fault they favored her, but she was really adamant that this wasn't about punishment, but about her own integrity. She said she couldn't keep accepting these expensive gifts knowing the history. She also told me something I didn't know. Apparently, my parents have been seeing a counselor since the wedding. Like, they actually went and found a therapist who specializes in family dynamics. I'm skeptical, obviously. Like, now they decide to work on themselves. Madison said she understands my skepticism, but thinks they're genuinely trying to change. We both ended up crying in this coffee shop, super embarrassing lol, and promised to build a healthier relationship as sisters. I've never felt so heard by Madison before. Like she finally really sees what happened all those years and how it affected me. This whole experience has made me realize how financial favoritism affects a family. It created all this resentment and distance where we could have had support and closeness. I'm so grateful for Thomas through all of this. He's helped me see that my worth isn't tied to whether my parents validated me with money or attention. I've agreed to meet with my parents next month, but only if they continue with the counseling. And I've made it super clear that reconciliation would be a slow process, not just an immediate return to playing happy family. I'm still hurt by decades of favoritism and their attempt to crash my wedding, but I don't know. Part of me wants to see if they're capable of real change. As painful as all this wedding stuff has been, I think it forced a confrontation that was decades overdue. Maybe we needed this blow-up to finally address the patterns that damaged our family for so long. I just want to say thank you to everyone here for your support and insight through all this. The courage to stand my ground came partly from knowing I wasn't alone in experiencing family favoritism. So many of you shared similar stories that made me feel less crazy for setting these boundaries.